And then, so for learning, what was working for her either in a positive way or a negative way when you first started training? What had she learned about the world around her?
She was pretty, and still is, pretty fearful of strangers. She met me and was a little bit hesitant at first. I couldn't touch her. She would take treats if I dropped them, and she warmed up to me relatively quickly. But she has learned that people are scary and loud noises are scary. People in her home are especially scary. So those were the things she came in with. Um, and so right off the bat, I just kept space from Luna and let her mom do most of the handling, which worked out really well. Um, and over time, she was able to trust me and I could handle the leash. And by the end, I could pet her, but just not at first. So very specifically things that were working in our training situation, she was able to redirect to her mom very quickly. She learned that right away. So we really relied on that to get her through all these tough situations as opposed to some other techniques that we might use.
That's great. It's so nice when you can find something that's already in place
Right.
that you can take into the specific training plan that you're working with rather than, just have everything be new. It's,
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
we call it, you know, call it schema sometimes,
Yeah.
what the dog comes in with, we use that schema and that gives them kind of a platform a foundation to start with.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so you kind of alluded to why Luna's guardian got in touch.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit more about just the motivation for them getting in touch with KK9 dog training?
Yeah. It's a pretty cool story. So the biggest reason they got in touch with us is they are all moving to Prague.
Yeah.
They're going to move across the world. And Prague is very dog friendly. So Luna will have to rely on public transportation a lot. And with her fear of people, there was a lot of concern that she would struggle with that. And then, whoops, Clem, they'll have to fly to get there too. And so they were very worried about her ability to fly on an airplane, also with her fear of people and sounds and all that jazz. So they got in touch to mostly work on those things for the move, but it's also really benefited Luna in the short term as well. She's was able to take a trip with them to Arizona as opposed to staying home for the holidays. So the long-term goal, go to Prague, but short-term, she can do all sorts of things now that she wasn't able to.
Oh my goodness, that
Yeah,
just warms my heart.
I
I'm
know, it's
sure
the
it warms
sweetest.
their heart too.
Yeah, I think so.
That's wonderful. Um, so they do have a timeline then. When are they
Yeah.
moving to Prague?
About a year from now. It's not super specific, but they did give themselves plenty of time to help Luna overcome these things, which is great. So they're thinking about a year from now they'll be in Prague.
That's wow. Hats off to them
I
for
know.
thinking ahead and giving that time. We've had folks come to us in the past saying, "Oh, we're, going to combine households in 2 months
Yeah,
and
I
we
know.
need some help." And things just take time, just like
I
with you,
do, yeah.
it takes time. So what about, I know sometimes when we work with clients, their goals are definitely top of mind, but sometimes goals come up in our minds too. Are there any goals that came up in your minds for Luna as you worked with her that maybe the guardians didn't address when they first started?
Yeah, a big goal, of course, their big goal was the move and public transportation and all that jazz. But what I thought of right away is humans in their home, which they also struggled with, but it wasn't at the top of their mind on how to support Luna during those things. I mean, I thought right away that would be a good way to help Luna learn about strangers in general. So we really pushed for that too. How does Luna overcome her fear of strangers in the home, which will then translate to her fear of strangers elsewhere too. So we did focus on that a lot as well. I mean, I wanted her to be able to handle that pretty. I wanted her to feel safe when people came into her house, and I think that did get a lot better. So we were proud to see that happen too.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, So you alluded to this as well. The first session, you weren't able to touch her and you kind of coached you were the guide on the side, kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
coaching the guardians. And so she was shy with you. Did she have any reactive behaviors toward you, or was it mostly just shy and withdrawn a little bit?
She didn't have any of the um, stereotypical reactive behaviors. She wasn't lunging, pulling, barking, anything like that. But she was very fearful, which I almost thought she was still could be considered reactive on how quickly she would like jump behind her mom or how quickly she would run away from a sound. So she wasn't reactive in the sense that we usually talk about reactivity, but she was so quick to respond to these scary triggers that it was almost like a reactivity, just in a different sense.
Oh, I would 100% agree with you that just because the behaviors don't look like barking, lunging, growling
Right,
doesn't mean that we're not seeing a reactive behavior.
right. But shyness for sure. She was very shy. Withdrawn, maybe a little bit less. She was very curious about things, but like if I moved too quickly, she'd run. Or if someone walked by the studio on their phone and we could hear them, she'd run, things like that. But she was curious about things. She would trot back to the window and look at it or, something like that.
Yeah, and so sometimes when we see a reaction or reactive behavior, it will be the moving to and making the big noise or whatever to get it to go away. And in Luna's case, moving away to put that space. So
Yes, exactly.
regardless of whether we're moving forward or moving away, the goal is still the same. Get some
Yeah,
space between me and this scary thing as fast as
yeah,
possible.
for sure.
Yeah. Um, so what strategy, just tell us one strategy that you started with in the very beginning.
Well, as soon as I noticed that Luna could redirect to her mom very quickly, we really hung on to that. We would ask her to look at her mom. We hung on to eye contact right away because she already had a great foundation. So we built that up to be really strong on the cue word and then relied on that heavily. Every time Luna looked at her mom, she got a cookie. Even, of course, without the presence of triggers, we just used that as our main goal every single class. Of course, we had other things in our pockets and toolbox, but that was our main thing every time because she was so good at it already. So it was a good thing to lean on to.
Yeah, and if sometimes if we wait for the trigger for the then to do the
Right.
thing, the looking at her mom, then we make an unintended association between the scary thing and this good thing that's already happening. So it's always so good to, just reward those things continually so that we don't get that weird association between, oh, this scary thing happened and now I get that cookie, and
Right.
then things go downhill.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we didn't do that. It was
So,
good.
so that was probably your big win in the first
Yes,
session then, was
absolutely.
finding that foundation.
Yep, it was a huge win. And it was so nice to easily build on that too. As soon as we put the keyword to it and then you practiced it, not even that many times, she was able to redirect immediately, even in the presence of a trigger, which was huge for everybody. And it was nice too, because then the humans could see that, like, oh, she actually can handle this, and we have set her up for success when things get tricky with just a simple eye contact cue.
Yes. Yes,
Kind of
that's fantastic. And how many sessions have you had up to this point with Luna?
We've just had three, and I think that's probably all we'll need. Of course, they may reach out if something comes up, but at this point, I think they're ready to go.
So they were able to understand the strategies. It was something that they could, that the humans could hang on to, and they felt confident enough that now they are empowered to just keep going.
Yep.
And that's
They
what
were
we
very consistent with Luna. Yeah. They
want.
were really eager to help her through these things, which was great. So they took the reins right away after our first session. And then we met the second time, and I could tell they had done a ton of work. Luna was more confident. They had played all the games. They had done confidence games. They had done all these things. So Luna was already so much better in just a couple weeks. And then we had a gap between our second and third session because of some traveling. So maybe, I don't know, a few weeks. And so I was a little bit worried that maybe we would have a setback but really they had just kept going that whole time, and Luna just excelled. So it was so good.
That's so key. That's so key. And it's not that we have to practice an hour a day.
Right.
It's those 2 minutes here and 2 minutes there, and let's play the game real, we have 2 minutes. And so let's play a game.
Yeah,
And we have another 2 minutes here. Let's play another game. And that's what makes the difference. It's not let's train for a half an hour.
right.
Or we have to set aside this block, and it's lifestyle, right?
Exactly. Yep, that's what I was gonna say. Just their lifestyle change to support Luna through these scary things.
Yeah, perfect. Um, so do you have 3 tips, just off the top of your head for someone who is working on the same or similar issues? Just kind of 3 quick tips. I
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Carry treats everywhere. They have to be in your pockets, and it's so easy to do. Even if it's your dog's kibble, they just need a reward when they do something great. Definitely number one. Number two is that consistency. Make it a part of your daily routine. 2 minutes here and there can really help your dog. And then offer your dog a lot of grace and yourself. These things are really hard to overcome. So if you are patient with yourself, patient with your dog, you'll see progress as you go a lot quicker than if you're beating yourself up for not practicing enough.
Those are fabulous.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I'm going to show Luna's picture one more time before we sign off. That was inspiring for me.
it's so good. I do have to say she was the best little dog. By the end, we had met at Jack's as our last session, just as like a final hurrah. And she was amazing. She walked next to her humans. She met strangers, took treats, and then she got on an airplane a couple days later. I was so proud.